All right, time to talk some Georgia politics. Changing day by day. Breaking news today in the race for Georgia Governor. Brad Raffensperger has now tossed his hat into the ring. The current Secretary of State now vowing to stand for Georgia no matter what. That's what he says. Raffensperger first gained national attention for defending the integrity of Georgia's 2020 election results when President Donald Trump pressed him to find enough votes to overturn the results. In his announcement, Raffensperger vowed to work with Trump on job creation, deporting those in the country unlawfully, and banning what he calls woke ideology in schools.
President Donald Trump shared his thoughts, calling Duncan a total loser and telling him good riddance.
This attack from Donald Trump is a badge of honor for me. It means I'm doing something right. I'm Geoff Duncan.
Meantime, the guy you see right here, former Lieutenant Governor Geoff Duncan, officially entering the race yesterday, but not as a Republican. In a bit of a political mix-up and stunner, Duncan announced that he is running as a Democrat now, pitching himself as one who can unite Democrats, independents, and what he calls disillusioned Republicans, while acknowledging shifts in his own personal views. So here to explain everything that's going on, this maneuver, is Democratic strategist and frequent panelist on the Georgia Vote, Fal Sabbak. Welcome. Always good to have you. Okay, so it's really
glad to be here.
Yeah, and it's heating up, so a lot to talk about this morning. We just heard that breaking news. Raffensperger, yes, he is officially running for governor. How much does his entry into the race shake things up in the GOP side?
Look, it'll shake things up for sure. I mean, I think you have a two-man race right now a three-man race with the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. It'll be interesting to see, he is a well-known money force. It'll be interesting to see where the donors end up going. And it'll be interesting to see where their primary electorate ends up going. I think he had faced some problems recently with the state Republican Party. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if their primary electorate has the appetite for him as governor.
Yeah, and Raffensperger is a name that we heard a lot in recent years. He was the one, of course, as we said, who stood up to President Trump. But his announcement also touched on what he called woke ideology in Georgia schools. So how tricky might it be for him now to balance all the facets of the state's Republican Party and these different views?
Yeah, I think that's going to be that's always the challenge in the primary, right? Is, you have to play to your base, excite them to get out of the primary, and then you kind of come together in the general. So I think his time in office, he's done a pretty good job of, being a steady hand. He's done a good job of, being the voice of reason. It'll be interesting to see if that will translate in the gubernatorial electorate.
All right, so let's switch now to Geoff Duncan. He made his big announcement yesterday around this time. How unusual is it to see someone switch a party here in Georgia and decide he's now running as a Democrat?
Yeah, I mean, the party switching typically happens the other way around, where a Democrat becomes a Republican. So it was refreshing to see somebody who had a front seat to the Trump administration, how they were functioning in 2018, 2020, and then say, you know what, this party's no longer speaking for me. I've changed my mind. I'm going to run as a Democrat. So it'll be interesting to see.
And to that point, how hard do you think it might be for Duncan to convince Democratic voters that he really is a Democrat, that his conversion is genuine? Because we heard from some of his competitors already in the race on the Democratic side, basically saying that he lost support from Republicans, so he had no choice but to switch over.
Right. I mean, look, I think that's part of the campaign strategy, right, is for these candidates to get out, talk to the voters. I think what former Lieutenant Governor Duncan can do is have a conversation with these voters to say, listen, this is where I was. This is where I saw the party heading. I started to have questions. These were my concerns. This is why I'm a Democrat now. I think having and detailing that conversion, I think, will help to his credibility and talk about, his conversion being genuine. I think explaining that, laying it all out on the table. I think voters are hungry for something genuine. I think they're hungry for, somebody who's going to stand up and fight for them. So if he can make that case, I think that the voters will listen.
But do you think some of those voters, especially Democratic voters, may be able to get past his record when it comes to things like abortion and Medicaid? If he's now saying I'm a Democrat?
I mean, I think that's the responsibility of the other Democratic candidates, right? To say, look, this is not a real conversion. This is something, out of convenience or, opportunity. I think some of the voters will have questions. It's going to be up to who's going to be able to have the more convincing argument.
All right, so this field is getting pretty crowded. We have Keisha Lance Bottoms, Michael Thurman, Jason Estevez, among a couple others. Now Geoff Duncan. Who at this point is really out front? I know we still have months and months to go, but who's now leading the way, you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a I don't know that there's one clear person in the lead right now. I think they're all doing a good job. They're all raising money. They're all getting out and talking to voters. I think, having such a good number of good candidates is a sign of a healthy party and a healthy system. So I don't know that there's a clear front runner right now. It'll be interesting to see how the months leading up to qualifying will shape up.
Yeah, and Fal, every day it seems like we're getting new information on Georgia politics. So we're going to be checking back with you a lot this season, I'm sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you as always.